Hey, it's your financial maven, Samantha Besnoff, CPA, and after almost 25 years in the accounting world, I've decided to share my insights and passion about money. Knowing your money and hopefully feeling less stress about your money is what I call being financially empowered. Welcome to the Your Financial Maven podcast. Welcome to the latest episode of Your Financial Maven. I am very excited to have Connor Tyson here with me, owner and founder of Progress Solutions LLC. Connor, you've been a financial advisor for over 22 years. You're a Series 65 registered investment advisor, New York life insurance agent. I am a Pennsylvania and New Jersey life insurance agent, so I love that. Chartered financial consultant and a master trained financial coach through the Ramsey Solutions. So welcome, Connor. I'm so excited to have you here.
Yes, I'm very happy to be here myself.
So before I really get into questions I have about your philosophies, things that you do for whether it's small businesses or even individuals that you talk to as you're dealing with your clients, what is money?
So people ask, what is money? And if you think about it in terms of there's the high level, it's fiat currency, it's a store of value and so on and so forth. But what does it represent? So if I mow your lawn and it takes me 2 hours, it's the sweat off of my brow, which is labor, and then the 2 hours. So you gave me $100 for that 2 hours. It's that 2 hours you could have played with your kids, learned a new hobby, a skill, expanded your business. So what money is time and labor. And that's why we have to save it. Later on in life, it gives back time and you don't have to work.
Very true. Very true. I mean, some people, even after they retire, still decide just to work. You know, like my father, love him, bless his heart, but he's 80 years old and he's still working in the life insurance business, even though I've still been trying to come on, Dad. But, he's not working as much. But some people love to still do that in retirement. But you're right, the savings and all that is great about money. So as I mentioned, you started Progress Solutions LLC. You're a financial coach. I've read up on your website. You talk about holistic approach to things. How did you get started? What was it with everything that you've done over all these 20 years that kind of said, I really want to shift it and help small businesses or other clients in that area?
Yeah, individuals and families and stuff what I realized after 20 some odd years, it was really about habits and behaviors. And it's not so much the what you need to do, because that's what advising is. It was more of the why and the how, helping clients connect that, where I used to do financial planning, and the financial plan was really a tool to kind of steer the conversation on investment or insurance products sooner or later. But then at the end of the day, it would give them some numbers. You save $846 a month between now and blah, blah, blah. You can retire at 64 and live the lifestyle you like. That's based upon today. You update it. They wouldn't have the motivation, clarity, the tools and resources to actually implement that plan. And since I wasn't compensated to handhold, they wouldn't get anything done. And then we'd have the same conversation every 6 months. Or if they did implement something, I would ask 2 questions. Why do you own it and how does it benefit you? And you would get blanks. So that's where I realized, okay, and I used to work with some pretty big clients, medical directors of hospitals, so on and so forth. And they would invest, let's just say, $500,000 and then take out a line of credit for $500,000. So as an accountant, you understand
balance of that. Absolutely. Yeah.
So what did I actually do for them? Nothing. So I realized that the fees of advising and stuff like that weren't predicated on the bottom line, which is people's net worth. And I realized that they don't teach this stuff in schools. And there's very bright people out there and they were struggling with communication around money, budgeting, debt elimination, impulse purchases, so on and so forth. And I was like, okay, I got sick and tired of selling people things that didn't understand how they worked. It was just because I told them and so on and so forth, and wasn't really moving the needle. So I said, you know what? I put the flag in the ground and I became a full-time financial coach to really transform people's lives with how they interact with money and habits and behaviors to actually move the needle, to empower them to know what that is.
You're right. That's part of the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, is because the financial literacy, the education, the empowerment about and around money needs to be there. I think financial advisors and planners do a great job with those tools, or say, hey, you could do this, you could do that. But a lot of people don't either want to ask or don't know how to ask beyond that. How does this affect my debt? Or if I'm going to go into debt, what does that mean for everything else? My cost opportunities.
Yeah, the opportunity cost of everything else. So that's why I did what I did.
I love that.
I also my personal story when I started out.
If you were willing to share, I would love to hear, like I said, I was reading up a little bit on your website and you talk about the burden or the hardship of not understanding money as you were growing up.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about knowledge was funny. Like it was shown to me at a pretty young age. I went to school and I got a degree in finance because my family was kind of a financial mess growing up. And I knew there was something to this money thing. So I graduated with a degree in finance. I was a finance advisor. I looked down and I had over 60 something thousand dollars debt.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's when I realized it wasn't about knowledge. It was really habits and behaviors.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
Because if you really think about it, most people, at least people I interact with, they know what to do on a gut level. Spend less than I make, avoid debt, save, give. We know this. So somewhere along the line, people hit a roadblock, and whatever that is, I equate it to habits and behaviors. Like you're used to brushing your teeth with your dominant hand. I ask you all of a sudden to brush your teeth with your left hand or your non-dominant hand. It's awkward. It's uncomfortable. Yeah. You don't want to do it. And you want to go back to the dominant hand.
Right, but if you break your dominant hand, you won't have a choice. You have to figure that out.
So that's where the habits and behaviors come in, where I realized that's really what it's about. It's clarity of, it's not, you don't want a budget. What you want is the feeling or what it would enable you to do if you actually had control of your money. You don't want to go to the grueling task of paying off debts. You want the feeling of what it would enable you to do if you were debt free. That's where I realized, wow, this is really where it's at. If you get clarity on your motivation of your why to start this journey in the first place, that'll help you tremendously. So let's say I want to be debt free. Okay. Are you willing to do the work? Well, talk to me in 2 months. If I start that journey with a very clear why of what would make me feel, who would it help, who else is dependent upon this change, and get really, really deep in that, that'd be the motivation that'll knock me through these walls of habits that are not serving.
Right. And I think that, our economy is doing well, but, there is a subset or there are groups of people that aren't feeling from whatever they're getting paid or wherever they are. Groceries could still be high. Gas is still high. How do I manage that? But maybe they do need to take that step back and look at their why and that mindset of what am I spending on? And that's where budgets and spending plans can help to understand,
and
right?
Yeah. If you align it with your principles and values of what's really important to you and what you want your life to look like. And that way you align your money with your principles of you're jazzed about it. You're like, okay, this is a vehicle, another tool to help me live out what's important to me in my life. So just show me your budget and I'll show you what's important to you.
Yeah, my son, my oldest just graduated college and he's moved back home. He's got a job. He's starting in August. And he's living at home right now, and he's done his budget, right? His mom's a CPA. Like I've talked to my kids about managing their money, but he's looking at it from that reality. And on some level, there's stress because he has in his head kind of where he'd like to be, and having that conversation and saying, okay, that's a great goal or that's what you want to do. But you also have to look at the here and now and how does what you do now affect that?
Yeah, the awareness. Yeah. I just call it the awareness. I hate the B word, budget. Let's just call it a money plan or whatever. But it's the awareness of where I am now, where my money currently is going, and then the you're like, oh no, this is not what I want.
I don't want to do that. Yeah, believe me, he doesn't want to pay back his student loans, but he has to. I mean, there are just necessary evils with regards to money. And as you talk about the holistic approach, and I've talked about grace with yourself when it comes to understanding your money. And you know what? If you spend on something that maybe you shouldn't have, it's okay. There isn't somebody there with a ruler slapping you on your hand going, you shouldn't do that. Maybe in your head or your own emotions, but I guess there's really nothing wrong with how you work with your money because it's your money. Even if you hear people say things, you hear things all over social media, all over,
Yeah, don't buy Starbucks and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Listen, if it brings value to your life, then do that. That's okay. If it fills you spiritually somehow or rejuvenates
Getting
you,
your Starbucks,
then
yes.
Or it's absolutely vital to do that. So like when I talk about the holistic, you recognize this too probably, is that through the lens of finances, the personal finance lens, it touches on all the other pillars of your life.
It does.
It affects you, relationships, divorce, money fights, the health, the stress, lack of sleep, socially, what you can and can't do because of guilt, shame, remorse, or all those things. And I was like, you know what? It's bigger than just a number in a column or a net worth number. It's really, what does wealth mean to you? what's the most important thing in your life.
So do you find with all this social media now, when you're working with some of your clients, oh, I heard this on TikTok, and not everything you hear on social media, TikTok, Instagram, whatever, is either true or accurate. This tax season was a little stressful when I was looking through TikTok talking about, oh, this is my wages and I owe taxes this year. Well, you may not have had enough withheld, or there are different things why you may have owed money or got less refund. I tried to respond a few times, and sometimes people didn't like that I was kind of saying, hey, that's not necessarily the case. But how do you combat that? Have you had to combat that to bring your clients back to facts and research and reality?
Yeah. Well, you've probably seen like the 30-day no spend challenges and the contest. It's not sustainable. It doesn't enforce good habits and behaviors of long-term. So that's one of the biggest challenges I've seen, like these different things that come up of, okay, no spend challenge, but that drives me crazy because I'm like, that's not serving you well and also instilling positive habits. Like, yeah, I could live off of rice and beans. Like I've heard that one before. I'm like, that's not realistic, nor is it really long-term sustainable. And why would I want to do that? And just tell my friends about it too. Like, put this out, come do this and make your life miserable for 30 days, but you'll save $1,200. Yeah. So how do I overcome those things? It's just through questions of, is this in line with what you really want? What does success look like for you in the area of your finance? What type of relationship do you want to have with money? And does this reflect that? It's just really clarity of what that look like. So I call it the shiny object syndrome. It's this new tool or hack. If there was, you and me would know about it.
We'd make fortune.
Doing it all the time.
Make a fortune.
And it doesn't pan out.
No, it doesn't. And again, not shaming anybody. We understand why people are trying to do it. Maybe they're trying to quickly get out of debt or quickly do something to get that boost. And I've always talked about, of course, using the B word, budget or spending plan. The reason I talk about it is more as a guide, because you have to know what money's coming in and you have to know what money's going out. And the money that's going out, you really need to itemize or categorize it so you know where you're spending. And I also always say, however you choose to understand your money, there has to be a savings component. And I've had people say, I don't make that much or I don't have that much. I'm like, if you have $1, you can start with that. Again, the habit, putting money away. I think the rule of thumb still is 20% into savings or having 3 to 6 months of an emergency fund if you can, but you've got to start somewhere.
Yeah, automate it. Take the self-discipline out of your hands.
Love it. But don't forget to review that automation. A lot of times set it and forget it, and that's not always good either.
That could happen the other way too with subscriptions, which I've been guilty of myself.
Right, I have too. I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't pay for that. And also in that regards of reviewing your bank statements and reviewing your credit card statements. Yes, a lot of things are electronic now, and people just don't reconcile or review to make sure payments are coming out the way they're supposed to or coming in. And I also say you have to, as part of this understanding your money, you have to review what you've spent because fraud could happen and you don't know about it.
Yeah, it's awareness.
It is awareness. And this just actually recently happened to me. The weekend of Mother's Day, I was just reviewing my one credit card for transactions just before we go to pay it. And there was a $1,200 expense for a ticket bought for the Miami Formula One in Florida that neither my husband or I bought online. And I looked back and how they start as those small transactions. And I noticed that and I'm like, that's odd. So I called up my credit card company. And this is something else I'm sure you have to talk to your clients about. How do you talk to somebody if there's issues with that? Because you have to be prepared to say, yeah, I didn't do that. And this is what I've been doing and got it resolved. But somebody had fun at Formula One on my expense.
Yeah. I'm a big proponent of just the identity theft insurance or protection of that, because it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when in today's days and age. Like you see things get completely hacked. Like I think it was 14 million records from some other healthcare company, and it's okay. It happened to you. It has happened to me. It happened to my neighbor.
Right.
It happens.
It does happen.
It does happen. It will happen. And to be proactive versus reactive, fix your roof before it rains. So you want to put yourself in a position of awareness of, okay, this is what could happen. I have it. The other thing too that you brought up, which was the awareness of going through the budget, how deep you'll go with it, something I call budget busters. You see where your money is, you can say, wow, I spent a quarter of my paycheck on my car. And then you see like, wow, groceries is this much. How much is that of my overall income? And then you can categorize and say, wow, where can I reduce, pause, eliminate,
reassess, right? With cars, reassessing car insurance, with life insurance, with homeowners insurance. renter's insurance. Those are things that I think you should review once a year, if not twice a year. Yes, interest rates are really high right now, so refinancing might not be great. Getting a line of credit might not be great. You may have to. You may not have a choice, but you need to then reassess those at some point. Can I refinance my mortgage and get a lower rate and not just keep paying as rates hopefully start to come down? And that's awareness too. Take a couple hours once a month to review all your finances. Hey, it's time for a money break. Welcome back from our money break. Do you find that your clients, once kind of the light bulb goes off for them, do you find that those conversations you're having with them as they move forward get easier for them too, that they feel more confident and empowered?
Absolutely. So what we have is at the end of a 3-month coaching program, it's called the 15-minute budget. So you literally can do a budget within 15 minutes because you know your numbers. It's all about knowing your numbers and awareness of where it is. So as you've written this down and then track where your money's going, you know your field goals of like, okay, yeah, I plan on spending $500 of groceries this month. How did it turn out? So tell your money where to go versus wondering where it went. But the thing is, where did it go and how close was I to my target? So in the beginning, yeah, we're taking guesstimates.
Yeah, we are.
I think I spend this on my automobile gas. I have an idea. And then now it's like honing it in. And now you have it locked in within 3% either way, right? And okay, if I asked any of my clients now, what do you spend on groceries? They probably would know within $50 either way.
Which I think in that regards of talking about understanding that, again, flexibility. None of this is set in stone. Now, interest rates could be set in stone for a while, or your monthly car payments could be set in stone, but how you kind of manage through that.
No, that changes. It should change. I mean, it's seasonal.
Right.
So pull out a calendar, look at June. What is unique about June that was not in May, right? College graduates or high school graduations or birthday. And these are the ways to get ahead of it. Instead of being like, where did my money go? You looked at where to go because you knew potentially what happened. So it's awareness.
I think there are certain times a year that for me are just so much more expensive, and shifting. And we still have another son who's starting his second year of college, and his college far more expensive than my older son's. A lot less scholarships, and financial aid has been reduced because we now only have one kid in college. Of course, that stress of, oh my gosh, how are we going to afford this? What do we need to do? And that reevaluation. But I find like right around May to June, and then of course, November to January are my most expensive months.
Oh, me too. It's the holidays,
and
right?
Birthdays,
and we know
and anniversaries and
birthdays and anniversaries, right? So I know that the holidays are coming. I've seen this pattern before. And I'm like, wait a second, I can actually save the money now for later on and actually have the availability of it in sinking funds, another budgeting technique of like, okay, I want to spend $2,400 in the holidays. That's $200 a month. That's $50 a week. I think I can manage this.
Yeah. And there's also with all that too, and I hate to bring this up because I know how people cringe, but there is the tax side of things too. You need to be aware of your wages and what you're having withheld, and, should maybe look at it mid-year. Maybe if you can find somebody, a tax professional, a CPA, someone, an advisor to help you just go, am I on the right track? Or there are things that I can do? Because yes, tax laws have changed. Things are going to be sunsetting with those tax laws in 25. So again, I don't know how things are going to be. We're in an election year. I don't know where things are going to go, but people need to be aware of that and not wait till the end of the year and realize, oh, I could have made a contribution and maybe I can take that. People need to be aware of that and how that, again, plays in their money.
Yeah. The other one that I always go through with clients is their W-4 withholdings. So if they get a big refund and it wasn't due to any big write-offs, like that was your money you gave to the government for a whole year at a 0% interest rate, and you're psyched that they're giving it back to you.
And you could have made money off it.
You could have made money off it or use that money to contribute to your child's 529 plan, your IRA, your family vacation.
And it's interesting you bring up the 529 plan, because I know here in the state of Pennsylvania, when you can make a contribution to a 529 plan, you can get a credit on your tax return for that. So as a recommendation or an opinion of maybe make the contribution through the 529 before you have to pay your kids' college so you can get a little bit more of a tax benefit at some point and check your states. Yeah, it's kind of nice, actually. I was telling my husband, I'm like, we're getting a credit for this. Anything we have to pay for the colleges, goes through the 529. That's qualified expenses. And then we can pull it out when we need to. And we're getting a little bit of an investment on it as well, not much.
It's like an HSA for college.
Yeah. And
one way looking at it.
HSAs, 401ks, these were conversations we're having with our oldest about when you start work, talk to them about your 401k plan, talk to them about an HSA. Can you do the high deductible health plan so that you can put some money away for investment and retirement and review or budget that? And then you know what you have left over to do with what you want. It's interesting with young adults because they're trying to find jobs. They're either graduating high school, going right into the workforce or military. They're going to college. They could be taking on debt. Is there anything for the young adults that you find is important to have them understand when it comes to being empowered with understanding your money?
Yeah, it's like this. You are a positive role model in your son's life. You're a CPA, you have the knowledge. Not a lot of people have that. And I've seen it with a lot of my friends where life happens fast. And someone told me this when I was that age, and now I'm 40 something years old, 2 kids, marriage, mortgage, 2 cars, summer camp. It happens fast. You can tell them that all you want, but they almost have to see it to believe it. So setting things up automatically for them helps get them started with understanding what would they do with this amount of money. And like, you can use a financial calculator and show them $250 a week for 20 years equals this at 10%, and just hold the number up. What would they do with that? That's capable. That's not adding any more money to it. And what's the opportunity cost of not doing that? Where would that lead you?
Right. Not having the comfort and understanding of the finances, the money situations. And like you say, I have never shied away talking to our boys about our money. They knew how much the house cost. They knew what our mortgage was when we had a mortgage, our car payments, what my husband makes, how I figure out what I charge my clients, that kind of thing. And then, of course, when they got their first jobs, a girlfriend of mine came across something that's called Spend, Save, Give. And so I took that as, all right, I'm going to set that up through their checking and savings account that we have for them. And when they're working, I told them 10% needs to go into savings, and you don't touch that savings right now. That's for you to use later. But what's in your spend account, you have to plan around that. And once it's gone, it's gone. I'm not giving, for certain things. My older son swam, actually just finished his swimming career with college. So when he was younger on his summer swim team, there was a Sheetz, which is like a Wawa, a 7-Eleven, across the street from our pool, our summer pool. The kids would all walk across there and buy food. So he was, 12, 13. It was before he could get a job. I gave him, and people think I'm nuts, I gave him a $150 gift card. And I said, okay, this is all you get all summer long. We figured it out, how many weeks he swam, what he bought. And he only went through $50 of it. But I was waiting to see, is he going to blow $150 in one shot on the entire team? Or was he going to be smart and go, ooh, I could have this money saved. And he had it for 2 years. He could use that gift card. It was great.
That's pretty awesome. It depends on their age, right? But equating money with work is a good lesson for kids to understand. Like, my son is 10. He wants the new fashion Fatista shoes for $180. And I'm like, no, not happening. I need some money. It sounds like you're broke. I said, you know where you go when you're broke? And he goes, where? I go, work. So then we knocked on the neighbors' doors and got a power washer. So a little 3 hours of work. Power washer is not easy for a 10-year-old. I was supervising, obviously. It was a little hot out, wet, muddy, this, that, the other. Okay, great. How much did he get? $80. He was halfway there. Did it again. Okay. Now you have the money. He wants to spend it. I'm like, that's a lot of power washing, huh, buddy?
Yeah.
And he understood. Now he equates when he comes to could I get $100? He knows what that means.
Right.
The sweat off my brow and the time it took to do that. But that's a big lesson of understanding too. When you save that money now at age 21, when you graduate college, you want to get to a point where money works for you and you no longer have to work for money.
It's a very good point. And I think everybody can get there. You have to look at your situation. You may have to make some hard decisions with what you're spending and where you're spending it, but it might not be for long term. So yeah, I agree.
It's a season of time. It's a season of time for a long period of time. Have you heard about the FIRE movement? Where it's
yes, I have. I had a guest on.
Retire early.
Yes, I actually had a guest on one of my prior episodes that he's part of this FIRE movement.
Yeah. So it's retire early. So that's their main focus. They have a good why. They don't want to be in the system till 65 years old. Okay. So they have to live like no one else so they can live like no one else later. they save a lot of money. And then the tipping point, they know their money, that they're financially independent now.
Which is, for some people, I think that's great.
It's a goal.
It's a goal. There is all this conversation about Social Security. Will it be around? I think my husband and I were just listening to something on NPR that something in the next 9 years could really shift.
Yeah, it's actually on people's statements. I have them read it. It's right on the website. You can go right now. So security.gov, it says it right there in black and white that it will be reduced. Okay, fine. That's them saying it to us. It's not like it's a secret. So is it going to be around? Yeah. Is it going to be the same amount we know now and have in the past? Probably not.
Right. And I think it's hard. I deal with a lot of entrepreneurs, small business owners, and when it comes to tax time, and I talk about them having to pay self-employment tax, and they feel they're getting double taxed because if they make income, that gets taxed with their other income, but they have self-employment. And I always explain self-employment tax is you paying yourself. It's your payroll tax in essence. So your FICA, your Medicare, is there a way to, while you're working, if you have your own business, to put some of that aside for that? Of course, there's estimated taxes and all that, but what can you do to maximize your income or whatever to help that?
The one way is to get over it mentally, which took me a long time. I was like, I'm paying for my mother and father.
Right. I agree.
That's the only way I could justify it, because if I'm paying into something, I'm going to get a benefit. I was pretty bad about that. Different structures of business, S Corp, LLC, C Corp. We can do those different things where it structures different amounts. Depends on the revenue of the business, obviously.
Absolutely.
Other ways to do it is you can also hire your kids.
Yeah, you can.
Hire your kids. Was it 12,000? You're the
I think so.
Up
Yeah.
to 12,600. They can have a salary. You can have them on the payroll up to 12,000.
Yeah, I think it's like 12,000. Yeah, of course, everything changes. Inflation with tax brackets and things are changing.
So there's a lot of things you can do. There's strategies.
Yeah, and I think you hit on that. It's strategizing. And it's not just those of us who've been in the world 20, 30, 40 years of working, but for the young adults getting out there and strategizing how they look at things. And, both my kids have student loan debt and they're not thrilled about it, but they also understand, okay, what do we need to do? And how do we plan? Now my older son has to start paying back at some point his student loans. And I say, if you have a little extra that you've already gone through and you have savings and you have this and you have a little extra, pay a little extra, reduce that principal.
You're bringing up a really good point. The thing I see a lot too about student loans and everything like that. The whole system is broken in that you have 18-year-old minds making adult decisions with 18-year-old minds. Like if you went to somebody and said, listen, I need a $250,000 business loan, there's a lot of paperwork and numbers that need to be verified. It's not just, I'm going to go to this place for 4 years, get a degree in, sociology, and I'll probably, hopefully get a job. I don't know what the rates are of acceptance in that. And my salary is going to be like 70 grand a year. And I'm going to move out of mom and dad's house and also have a car. And I'm going to go out with my friends at night and go to, And the guys are like, really? Yeah, denied.
Yeah.
But since you can't explain that to somebody, like, okay, it's a business decision.
It is a business decision.
What is the return on the investment?
Yeah, very true.
Is it worth it? And that's getting to a tipping point now where a lot of people are like, become a welder.
Yeah.
Go to the trades.
Trade schools are great. The trades are amazing. Yeah.
Go to the trade schools and make $70,000 for 4 years. You're already $240,000 ahead of the race when the kids graduating with $120,000 of student loans, or if more. And then it takes them a long time. Now, is the earning capacity there? Sure. There's pros and cons to it all, but
there definitely is.
Like a business decision, right?
There definitely is.
And the society we live in is everybody's, where'd you go to college? Where are you going to college? It's a big decision now because the cost of college has gone up, I think,
Tell me about
way
it.
more than grocery.
I mean, we were blessed that our older son had some really good scholarships and he did still take some student loan out. And so for him, that burden for us was a lot lower. Our younger son, the next 3 years are going to be uber tight, and it's not for us, we have 529. It's not for us not having those vehicles. But when the market did tank a couple summers ago, we lost some money.
Scary.
And that money, we haven't quite gotten back for him for college. I mean, we're still doing that. And we even said to our boys, you don't have to go to college. If you want to, great, but you don't have to. And they did make that decision. And so now we're like, okay, how do we figure this out? And I think parents need to have that conversation with their kids. If they decide to go to college.
Adult conversation.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, my younger son and my older son was like, why do I have to take out student loans? And my initial response was skin in the game. If you know that you have to pay back some money and then some,
You're incentivized to go to
I'm
class.
incentivizing, and he doesn't always need being incentivized, but it was part of that. And also, you need to. We don't have a choice.
Yeah, but also, I don't even know what the statistics are, but student loans are due if you graduate or you don't
Very
graduate.
true. Very true.
And I don't know what the graduation rates are.
I don't know either.
And you better be damn sure what you're going for, why you're going.
Right.
And you better know exactly what the return on investment of that major is. And do you have passion for it? I think there's something like you end up doing something that has nothing to do with your major more than like 40% of the time or 50%, probably higher.
It's very true. I mean, both of my kids' majors, definitely not. They're probably going to stay where they're at. They're computer science and engineering. So that's just their mindset. But doesn't mean that they wouldn't shift and do more business stuff. You can have those degrees and go into business and be able to consult or do whatever. But again, having a business plan, having a thought process with your money and all that. Is there anything else that you've come across or that you'd like to share when it comes to empowering others when it comes to this conversation?
The biggest thing that I've seen that determines success or not is clarity on their why. Why are you willing to actually change the habits and behaviors? Sit down, get clear with your money, build awareness, track your money, do the reviews of the insurance policies.
Big one with the insurance. Life insurance is
insurance.
huge.
Why am I going to look at my W-4, my pay stub? Why am I going to go through this stuff? And it's not just because I want to get out of debt. It has to be way deeper than that.
And it's scary for people, right? I'm sure you hit clients that are afraid to take that leap of faith. But once they do, I'm sure that clarity comes to them and they're like, wow.
Yeah, it's big.
It is big.
Like I have someone that's like, I want to get control of my money. Why is that important to you? I'm working 2 jobs and I'm missing my kids' sports. Oh, why is that important to you? One of my principles in life is family, and I feel like I'm violating that. Oh, well, we're getting somewhere.
I agree. And that is something I think, not just for young adults, but I think in general, having to have those conversations. We made the decision that I should stay home when the kids were born and take care of them. And now I still work during tax season because I was able to do work during tax season. But for us, the cost of daycare didn't make sense for us because we thought through the process. Now, both kids are out of college, in college. I could work more. I could do more. Sure, I look back and I go, oh, I wish I could have made more over these years from the planning perspective, and had the conversation actually with our kids. And the boys were like, that's okay, Mom. Like, you're still very successful because we made those decisions. And I think you have to talk to each other. If you're in a partnership, a relationship, you're raising a family together, however that structure is, you have to talk to each other.
Absolutely. Communication is huge. I equate it to like the firemen.
Yeah. Right.
So they have a bond that's very, very strong, regardless of where they are. They have open communication in scary situations. They know where everybody is at every given moment. And they also know people over things.
Right.
You keep that with you, you'll have successful relationship with your significant other.
And with your money too.
And your money, yeah. So that's the deal. Me and my wife talked about childcare, which is funny because we had 2 kids. We have 7 and 10-year-old. And when one of them was done and the other one was out, we were like, oh, high five in front of the person pushing the stroller, just going in. But why are you guys so happy? We're like, oh, we can go buy a Mercedes now.
We can go do something.
Joke, right?
No, you're right.
The opportunity cost of like, wow, this was a lot of money.
Yeah, it can be. And of course, there are people out there, they don't have a choice. They don't have an option. Even with that, if you have to still pay for daycare because you both have to work or whatever, there still are ways to have that communication to help determine how you're going to be spending your money and the clarity on it. This has been a fabulous conversation. I absolutely love having this conversation with you. It's been so great to have you on, Connor. You can find Connor Tyson at progressfc.com. I'll put that and other information in the podcast notes. Any other last words of wisdom you'd like to share with my listeners?
You can do this. It seems impossible now. You might be scared, intimidated, overwhelmed, frustrated. People are here to help you step by step with patience, love, and understanding that you were not taught this. You might not have had positive role models in your life. You might not have the clarity what you need, but it's available to you.
It certainly is.
And that's what I want to share.
Thank you, Connor. I really appreciate it. Hey, it's Your Financial Maven, and I want to hear from you. Feel free to leave me your insights and money stories or questions that you may have about money. You can visit www.yourfinancialmavenpodcast.com and click on the I Want to Hear From You tab. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about money. The purpose of this podcast is to provide general information on the subjects discussed. It is for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. You should consult your CPA, accountant, or tax professional for all of your specific financial needs or situations. Your Financial Maven is hosted and produced by Samantha M. Besnoff, CPA, and Your Financial Maven, LLC. Editing is done by Kris Zarnoch of KMZen Creative. Music is written, composed, and performed by Daniel Shore.